6:30 a.m., and I am doing what I have done every morning for the past 3 years since retiring to Key West, sitting on my waterfront deck with a cup of black coffee, watching the sun turn the Gulf waters from navy to turquoise, listening to pelicans dive for breakfast. No schedule, no stress, no ex-wife telling me I spend too much time thinking about the ocean. This is peace. Then the jackhammer starts. I am Miller Hawthorne, 53 years old, former commercial fishing captain who spent 30 years working the waters from the Keys to the Carolinas. Made good money. 1,600 square feet, 2-bed, 2-bath, built in the 80s. I set down my coffee and walk around the side of my house to investigate. There is a construction crew, maybe 8 guys, building a massive boat dock extending from the community property line. Not a small fishing dock like mine. A full commercial-grade marina setup with pilings thick as telephone poles, concrete deck, space for at least 6 large boats, and it is jutting out into the water right next to my property line, maybe 20 feet from where I dock my old Grady White. Standing on the partially completed deck, clipboard in hand, is Karen Delacroix, president of our HOA, early 60s, always dressed like she is about to attend a charity gala, even at 7 in the morning. She is the kind of woman who measures her self-worth by how many rules she can enforce and how many people she can make miserable in the process. Next to her, leaning against a gleaming white cigarette boat that must have cost $500,000, is Brad Sutton, 40-something. I walk down to the water's edge. Morning, Karen. Hell of a project you got going. She looks up from her clipboard, and I swear I see a flicker of something. Not guilt, more like anticipation. Good morning, Miller. Yes, we are finally moving forward with the community marina enhancement. It has been approved for months. Community marina? This is the first I am hearing about it. We sent notice to all waterfront property owners back in March. We didn't miss any meeting. I read every HOA notice specifically to avoid surprises like this. I will need to see the permits and environmental impact assessment, all permitted and legal. Captain Karen made sure everything was by the book. He pronounces captain like it is an insult. This is going to increase everyone's property values. You should be thanking us. I will hold off on the gratitude until I see the paperwork. Something's wrong. That dock is way too elaborate for a small community of 20 houses, and the way Brad's looking at it, like he is already counting money, sets off every alarm bell I developed in 30 years of dealing with shady dock masters and corrupt harbor officials. That afternoon, I drive to the HOA office in the community clubhouse. It is a small building, mostly used for monthly meetings and the occasional potluck that I avoid. Karen's assistant, a nervous woman named Diane, who I have always suspected is terrified of her boss, hands me a folder. This is everything related to the marina project, she says quietly. Karen said you would be stopping by. I take the folder to a table and start reading permit applications, engineering surveys, environmental assessments, and there, on the primary permit application to the county, is my signature. Except I never sign this. I know my own signature. This one's close, but the M in Miller is wrong. The loop's too small. Someone forged my name. I flip through more pages. There is a community consensus form showing that all waterfront property owners approve the project. Diane, I keep my voice calm. Do you have the originals of these signature pages? She shifts uncomfortably. Karen keeps the originals in her personal files. These are copies. I see. Can I get copies of these copies? Of course. She uses the office copier, hands me the documents. Her hands are shaking slightly. I drive home slowly, thinking. Karen forged my signature to get the permits approved. But why? A community dock doesn't generate revenue for the HOA. It is expensive to build and maintain, unless... That evening. Sometimes you can hear conversations from 100 yards away like people are standing next to you. The voices are coming from Brad's cigarette boat, now docked at the new marina. I recognize Brad's laugh, and then Karen's voice. I stay very still and listen. Told you this would work, Brad's saying. Once the dock's finished, we will have the premier luxury boat rental location in the Keys, Airbnb for yachts. Who is going to listen to him? We document a few safety violations on his dock, get the county to red tag it. My hand tightens on the beer bottle. I sit there in the dark for a long time after their voices fade. 30 years on fishing boats taught me patience. Taught me that the ocean always wins if you fight it head on. You have to work with the current, not against it. I am not going to confront them. I am not going to make threats or demands. I am going to do what I have always done when facing a problem bigger than me. I am going to use the rules. Next morning, I start researching. Florida law regarding waterfront construction is complex, especially in the Keys where environmental protection is strict. I spend 3 days reading county ordinances, state regulations, and federal guidelines for seagrass protection and manatee zones. The dock they are building extends more than 60 feet into the canal. According to Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission regulations, any dock over 50 feet in designated seagrass habitat requires extensive environmental review. Any dock in a manatee protection zone, which our canal definitely is, requires special permitting. I pull up the satellite imagery from last year. Clear patches of seagrass visible in the water right where the new dock pilings are going. Manatee zone signs posted at the canal entrance. The permits Karen filed. They are for a private residential dock under 50 feet, not a commercial marina facility. The environmental assessment is minimal, the kind you file for a small personal dock, not a 6-boat commercial operation. But here is the really interesting part. The permits are filed under my name as the primary applicant. As far as the county is concerned, I am building this dock, which means I am also the one who can request it be removed for environmental violations. I sit back and smile for the first time in days when Brad makes condescending comments about my little fishing boat compared to his yacht. I nod along. I even attend the HOA meeting where Karen announces the grand opening of the Sunset Keys community Marina scheduled for 3 weeks out. She is planning a big event. Open house, potential yacht rental clients, local media, the works. This is going to put our community on the map, she says, beaming at the small crowd of homeowners. Most of them are retirees who don't have boats and don't care, as long as their property values go up. Brad has already secured partnerships with luxury rental agencies from Miami. Brad stands up, all teeth and hair gel. We are looking at bringing in high-end clientele, 6-figure yacht owners. This marina will be featured in Florida Travel Magazine next month. I raise my hand. Sounds great, Karen. Brad. Happy to support the community. Karen looks almost disappointed that I am not fighting. Well, thank you, Miller. We appreciate your cooperation. Hi, Jennifer. I need to report a potential environmental violation in Key West. It is regarding unauthorized construction in a seagrass protection zone and manatee habitat. I give her the exact coordinates, the permit numbers, and explain that the dock being built exceeds the permitted dimensions and is impacting protected seagrass beds. And your name, sir? Miller Hawthorne. I am actually listed as the permit holder, but I never authorized this construction at this scale. I would like to request voluntary removal before the state has to issue violations. There is a pause. Mr. Hawthorne, which is why I am calling now before the violation becomes more serious. We will have an inspector out there within the week. In the meantime, I would suggest halting all construction. I will make sure the contractors know. I hang up and pour myself a whiskey. Not to celebrate, not yet, but to toast the ocean, which has always taken care of those who respect it and punished those who don't. The next morning, I walk down to the construction site. The crew's already working, welding railings onto the completed dock sections. I find the foreman mourning. I am the permit holder, and I just filed a compliance review with FWC. If you keep working and they find violations, the fines go to whoever's doing the construction. His expression changes. Anyone who works waterfront in Florida knows you don't mess with FWC. You got paperwork? I show him the email confirmation from FWC on my phone. Shit. He pulls out his own phone, calls someone. Yeah, we got a problem at the Key West job. FWC compliance review. Pause. No. The permit holder called it in himself. 10 minutes later, the crew's packing up. By noon, the work site is empty. That afternoon, my phone rings. It is Karen. Her voice is tight. Miller, what the hell did you do? I am not sure what you mean. The construction crew left. They said you called FWC. Oh, that, yeah. I wanted to make sure we were fully compliant with environmental regulations. You know, protecting the seagrass and manatees. It is the responsible thing to do. You had no right to interfere with a community project. Karen, the permits are in my name. I have every right to ensure we are following the law. If there are violations, I am the one who gets fined. I can hear her breathing hard through the phone. This is sabotage. This is environmental stewardship. I am surprised you are not supportive. Isn't the HOA supposed to care about community values? She hangs up. 2 days later, I am on my deck when I see the FWC truck pull up. 2 inspectors in khaki uniforms, one carrying a clipboard, the other with water quality testing equipment. I walk down to meet them. The older inspector, a weathered guy who looks like he has spent his life on the water, shakes my hand. Tom Richardson, FWC. We are here to assess the dock construction. Appreciate you coming out so fast. Well, when someone self-reports before a violation becomes severe, we like to respond quickly. Shows good faith. He looks at the massive dock structure. That is a hell of a dock for a residential property. That is part of my concern permits, say under 50 feet for personal use. That has got to be 65, 70 feet. And they were talking about commercial yacht rentals. Tom's partner, a younger woman named Lisa, is already in the water with testing gear. She surfaces after a few minutes. Tom, we have got significant seagrass damage, and this is definitely mapped manatee habitat. That is correct. I believe my signature was forged on the county permits. That is a serious allegation. I have copies of the permits showing the signature doesn't match mine. Happy to provide handwriting samples. Tom nods slowly. That means removing the non-compliant portions of the dock and restoring the seagrass bed. I understand. I want to do the right thing here. Good. We will have the official order drafted by end of week. You will have 30 days to submit a remediation plan. As they are leaving, Karen's Lexus pulls up fast, gravel spraying. She jumps out, sees the FWC inspectors, and her face goes pale. What is going on here? Tom turns to her. Do you have documentation showing HOA authorization? It is. Karen looks at me, and I see real fear in her eyes for the first time. She is realizing what I have done. We will be sending official documentation to the address on the permit, Tom says. Have a good day. After they leave, Karen turns on me. You bastard. You deliberately sabotaged this project. I protected the environment. The dock violates seagrass protection laws. You built it in a manatee zone without proper permits. What did you expect would happen? This isn't over, she says, but her voice lacks conviction. Actually, Karen, it is. She drives away fast enough to leave more gravel spray. That evening, Brad shows up at my dock. He is not smiling anymore. We need to talk. I don't think we do. You are making a big mistake. I have got investors lined up. This marina was going to generate serious revenue. For you and Karen, maybe. Not for the community. You think you are some kind of environmental hero? You are just a bitter old man trying to ruin other people's success. I stand up from my chair. I have got about 3 inches and 30 pounds on Brad, plus 30 years of hard work that his gym membership cannot match. I am someone who respects the ocean, something you clearly never learned. He takes a step back. The HOA will sue you for the remediation costs. The HOA can try, but the permits are in my name. The signatures are forged, and FWC has already documented the violations. Good luck explaining that to a judge. He opens his mouth, closes it, then turns and walks away. I sit back down and crack open a beer. The sun's setting, turning the water gold and orange. A manatee surfaces about 50 yards out, probably drawn by the seagrass that is still alive, despite the dock construction. 2 weeks later, FWC contractors with a barge and crane. They are here to remove the dock. It takes them 3 days. They pull out the pilings carefully to minimize further damage to the seagrass. They haul away the concrete decking. They restore the canal bottom as much as possible. Planting new seagrass starts in the damaged areas. On day 2 of the removal, Brad shows up with a photographer and a couple in expensive yacht club attire. He has clearly planned to show them the luxury marina facility for his rental magazine feature. The couple leaves quickly. I hear later that week that he tried to dock it at a nearby marina, but got cited for improper registration. Apparently, the boat was registered as recreational, not commercial, and he had been using it for charter operations without proper licensing. FWC doesn't miss much when they start looking. 3 weeks after the dock removal, I attend an emergency HOA meeting. The small community room is packed, and people are angry. Karen stands at the front, but she doesn't have her usual commanding presence. She looks tired. As you all know, the Marina project has been terminated due to environmental violations, these facing significant costs related to the remediation. Karen, I have been reviewing the permits for this project. Can you explain why Miller Hawthorne's signature is on documents he claims he never signed? Karen's face flushes. There was obviously some administrative confusion. Administrative confusion, or fraud, demanding explanations. A few people are looking at me, but most of the anger is directed at Karen and Brad, who is sitting in the back trying to look invisible. Frank calls for a vote of no confidence in Karen's leadership. It passes unanimously. After the meeting, Frank approaches me. Water under the bridge. Karen and Brad were only thinking about their cut of the rental fees. People get greedy around waterfront property that they do. He shakes my hand. If you ever need anything, let me know. A month later, I am back to my routine. I have seen 3 manatees in the canal this week, more than I had seen all year before. My phone rings. It is my lawyer, a guy I hired to make sure Karen couldn't somehow stick me with remediation costs. Good news, Miller. The HOA officially dropped any claims against you. They also settled with the county to avoid criminal charges for the permit fraud. Cost them about 40 grand in fines and restoration fees. And Karen resigned from the board completely. Word is, she is moving to Naples. Brad's real estate license is under review by the state. Turns out fraudulent permit applications don't look good when you are trying to maintain a professional license. Couldn't happen to nicer people after I hang up. I pour a whiskey and walk down to where the dock used to be. The water's clear. It looks at me with that prehistoric bird stare that seems to know things. Yeah, I say to the bird. We won this one. It doesn't respond. Just ruffles its feathers and dives into the water, coming up with a fish. I stand there for a while, listening to the water lap against the pilings, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. No Karen and Brad scheming to turn my home into a rental property. But you can work with it, respect it, and sometimes, if you are patient and smart, it will take care of the problems for you. The pelican surfaces with another fish. I raise my glass to it. Here is to seagrass protection zones, I say, and to assholes who don't read the environmental regulations. The pelican flies off, fish in its beak, silhouetted against the orange sky. I finish my whiskey and head inside. Tomorrow, I am thinking about taking the Grady White out for some real fishing. Maybe catch some snapper. Karen and Brad learned an expensive lesson about trying to scam a guy who spent 30 years navigating maritime law, reading weather patterns, and understanding that the ocean always has the final say. And me. I learned that retirement doesn't mean you stop fighting for what is right. It just means you fight smarter, using the tools you have spent a lifetime learning. The ocean protected me because I protected it. Fair trade, if you ask me.